Have you ever felt it? That physical sensation, the tightening in your chest, the knot in your stomach, the moment you are about to say the word no. It is one of the shortest words in the language, yet for so many of us, it is the heaviest. To say no can feel like a betrayal, an act of selfishness, a crime for which the immediate punishment is a tidal wave of guilt. This guilt is the most effective warden of our inner prison. It is the silent, powerful force that keeps us trapped in the cycle of people-pleasing, of over-giving, of self-abandonment. We tell ourselves it is our conscience, that we feel guilty because we are a good person. But what if that story isn't true? What if that guilt is not a reflection of your character, but a ghost from your past? The great pioneer of the unconscious, Carl Jung, understood this dynamic. He knew that this kind of guilt is often a shadow voice, a program installed in our childhood, designed to ensure our survival by teaching us one core lesson. To be loved, you must be compliant. Your needs are secondary. This is the beginning of a profound shadow work insight. The guilt that blocks your no is not your own voice. It is an echo. And today, we are going to learn how to distinguish that echo from the true, quiet, powerful voice of your own soul. To begin, I invite you to acknowledge this silent struggle. In the comments, let us create a space of shared understanding. Simply write, "I am ready to find my voice."
To understand the power of this guilt, we must return to the place where it was born, the quiet, observant theater of our childhood. As children, our most fundamental need is not for food or for shelter. It is for connection, for attachment, to know that we belong and that we are safe. Our nervous system is a brilliant, sophisticated piece of equipment designed for one primary purpose: to maintain that connection at all costs. And so we learn. We become little scientists of our own family systems. We study our caregivers with an intensity that would rival any anthropologist. We learn what brings a smile and what brings a frown, what earns praise and what causes withdrawal. And in this laboratory of love and survival, we learn a critical equation. Perhaps you had a parent who was easily disappointed or hurt. You would say a small no. You would express a need that was inconvenient, and you would see the flash of pain in their eyes. You would feel the temperature in the room drop. Your child mind, in its innocent brilliance, creates a program. My authenticity hurts the people I love. My no is a weapon. To keep the connection safe, I must say yes. Or perhaps you grew up with a parent who was a martyr, someone who sacrificed everything for the family and made sure everyone knew it. You learned a different rule. Receiving is selfish. Having needs is a burden. To be a good person, I must give more than I take. This programming, this psychic inheritance, is not a memory. It becomes a part of our operating system. And the enforcer of this program is guilt. The guilt you feel is not a moral compass pointing to a genuine wrongdoing. It is an emotional flashback, a biological alarm bell warning you that you are about to break a core rule of your original survival program. It is screaming, "Danger! You are about to threaten the connection. Return to compliance immediately." This is the profound insight that the work of Carl Jung offers us. He would call this internalized program a complex, And the voice of that complex, the one that whispers, "You're selfish, you're a bad daughter, you're not a good friend," that is a shadow voice. It is not your voice. It is the echo of a parent's disappointment, the echo of a societal rule, the echo of a belief system you had to adopt in order to survive. Its primary function, in the beginning, was to protect you, but the program is now outdated. You are no longer a powerless child, but the warden, the guilt, is still on duty. Let's watch this play out. Let's imagine Chloe. It's Friday afternoon. She is exhausted from a long week. All she wants is a quiet weekend to read and recharge. Her phone rings. It's her friend who is in a panic. She needs help moving into her new apartment on Saturday, the entire day. Chloe's authentic self, her soul, immediately whispers, "No, I can't. I am too tired. I need to rest." It is a simple, clean, honest truth. But before she can even form the words, the warden sounds the alarm. The shadow voice kicks in, and it is loud. "You can't say no to her. She was there for you when you went through your breakup. A good friend would help. If you say no, she will think you don't care. She'll be so disappointed in you. You're being selfish." Does this sound familiar? Notice the language. It is the language of judgment, of fear, of catastrophe. And with those thoughts, the physical sensations come. Her chest tightens. Her stomach churns. The biological alarm of guilt is now fully activated. And what does Chloe do? She takes a deep breath and she abandons herself. She says, "Of course I'll be there. What time?" The moment she says it, the guilt subsides. The alarm is turned off. The warden is satisfied. The connection is, theoretically, safe. But it is replaced by another feeling, a heavy, sinking feeling in her gut, the quiet, bitter taste of resentment, the deep sorrow of self-betrayal. This is the prison. You are given a choice between two cells, the cell of guilt or the cell of resentment. And we have been conditioned to believe that the cell of guilt is the more painful of the two. So we choose resentment again and again, and we call it being a good person. The first step in this shadow work, the first step to true freedom, is to realize that the warden is not you. That voice, that insistent, fearful, judgmental voice, is a ghost, a psychic echo. Its sole purpose is to keep you running a program that, while once necessary for your survival, is now the very thing that is blocking your life force. It is the voice of your conditioning, not the voice of your soul. And learning to tell the difference is where our power begins.
So, if this guilt is a shadow voice, an echo from the past, how do we begin to dismantle its power? The first step is to learn to recognize its specific dialect. This voice of conditioned guilt has 3 favorite strategies, 3 primary tones it uses to keep us in our cell. Learning to identify them is like learning to see the bars of the prison for the first time. The first dialect is the inner judge. This is the voice of harsh, black and white, moralistic criticism. It uses absolute words like good, bad, right, and wrong. It sounds like this. Good mothers don't need a break from their kids. A good employee is always available. Selfish people are bad people. This voice is not interested in nuance. It is not interested in your energy levels, your mental health, or your own needs. It is an enforcer of a rigid, outdated moral code that you absorbed from your environment. Its only goal is to shame you back into compliance. When you hear this voice of the inner judge, it is a crucial piece of shadow work to pause and ask, whose voice is this really? Whose definition of good am I trying to live up to? Is this voice leading me toward wholeness, or is it keeping me small? The second dialect of guilt is the fortune teller of doom. This voice doesn't attack your character directly. It attacks your future. It specializes in catastrophic thinking. It paints a vivid, terrifying picture of all the horrible things that will happen if you dare to say no. It sounds like this. If you say no to this project, you'll be fired. If you don't go to that family dinner, your mother will be heartbroken and never forgive you. If you set this boundary, he will leave you and you will end up alone forever. This voice preys on our deepest fears of abandonment and rejection. It creates a false choice. Either abandon yourself or be abandoned by others. It makes saying no feel like a life or death decision. The work here, as taught by masters of the psyche like Carl Jung, is to question the prophecy, to bring the light of adult consciousness to the child's fear. You can ask, is this fear 100% true? What is the actual realistic probability of this catastrophic outcome? And even if the worst did happen, would I survive? By questioning the fortune teller, you begin to see that its power is not in its accuracy, but in its ability to hijack your nervous system with fear. The third dialect is the most subtle and perhaps the most insidious. It is the debt collector. This voice operates on the logic of unspoken transactions. It keeps a running tally of every favor, every kindness, every sacrifice someone has ever made for you. And it presents you with the bill at the most inconvenient time. It sounds like this. After all I've done for you, you can't do this one thing for me. Remember when she helped you move last year? You owe her. Your parents sacrificed so much for you. The least you can do is. This voice turns relationships into a ledger of debts and credits. It frames love and connection not as a free exchange, but as a system of obligation. It makes you feel perpetually indebted, and therefore never truly free to make your own choices. Let's look at Chloe again. When she wanted to say no to her friend, all three voices were active. The inner judge said, "A good friend would help. You're being selfish." The fortune teller of doom whispered, "If you say no, she'll be mad and your friendship will be over." And the debt collector reminded her, "She was there for you during your breakup. You owe her." Faced with this three-pronged attack from her own shadow, it's no wonder she surrendered. The shadow work here is to reframe the entire concept of relationship, to move from a model of transaction to a model of connection. True connection is not based on obligation. It is based on authentic presence. You can ask yourself, am I acting from a place of genuine desire to connect or from a place of obligation? Is this relationship strong enough to handle my honest no? If a relationship cannot survive your boundaries, is it a connection or is it a cage? Recognizing these three voices, the judge, the fortune teller, and the debt collector, is a revolutionary act. It is the beginning of what Carl Jung called differentiation, the ability to separate your true self from the complexes and conditioned voices that live within you. You begin to realize that this guilt is not an intrinsic part of you. It is not your soul speaking. It is a program, a very old, very loud, and very convincing program. But a program can be observed. A program can be understood. And ultimately, a program can be updated.
You start to create a tiny sliver of space between the stimulus, the request, and your response. In that sacred pause, you can observe the voices as they arise without immediately obeying them. You can see the judge and say, "Thank you for trying to keep me good, but I get to define my own goodness now." You can see the fortune teller and say, "Thank you for trying to keep me safe, but I am no longer a child. I can handle the consequences of my truth." And you can see the debt collector and say, "Thank you for reminding me of our connection, but I choose to act from love, not from debt." This is not a battle. It is a process of compassionate detachment. You are not trying to kill the voices. You are simply withdrawing your belief in them. You are taking the throne of your own inner kingdom back from the ghosts of the past. And in doing so, you are making space for a new voice to emerge. A quieter, calmer, more centered voice. The voice of your own sovereign self.
Recognizing the voices of the inner critic is a monumental step. But recognition alone is not enough to dismantle the prison. We must begin to act differently. We must retrain our nervous system, teaching it that our no is not a threat to survival, but a key to our own wholeness. This is where we must introduce a revolutionary reframe, a core tenet of the individuation process described by Carl Jung. Your authentic no is not an act of aggression. It is not an act of rejection. It is not an act of selfishness. Your authentic no to something on the outside is a sacred yes to something on the inside. Let me say that again. Your no to another's request is a yes to your own need for rest. Your no to a draining obligation is a yes to your own peace. Your no to someone else's definition of who you should be is a yes to the quiet, true voice of your own soul. Saying no is not about pushing others away. It is about drawing a loving boundary around your own well-being. It is about declaring that your energy, your time, and your inner peace are precious, sacred resources that you have a right to protect. It is an act of profound self-loyalty. And in this light, your no becomes one of the most spiritual words you can speak. This is a truth that your conscious mind might understand. But your body, your nervous system, still has the old program running. It still equates no with danger. So the work is not just to think differently. It is to practice differently, to create new neural pathways, to give your body a new experience. The experience that you can say no and you will still be safe. You will still be loved. You will survive. So how do we begin this practice? We do not start by saying no to our boss in a high-stakes meeting. That would be like a beginner skier starting on a black diamond slope. We start small. We start safe. We begin with what I call the micro no. A micro no is a small, low-stakes act of setting a boundary. It is a gentle, almost imperceptible shift in your daily interactions. Its purpose is not to create conflict, but to build your own internal muscle of self-worth. Here are some examples of what a micro no might look like. Perhaps a colleague asks you to read over a report for them at the end of the day. The old program, the guilt, screams, "You have to help." A micro no could be, "I'd love to, but I can't get to it today. I can take a look first thing in the morning." You are not rejecting the person, you are simply honoring your own time. Perhaps a family member calls you wanting to vent for an hour. The old program says, "You must listen. It's your duty." A micro no could be, "I'm so happy to hear from you. I only have about 10 minutes right now before my next call, but you have my full attention for these 10 minutes. You are not abandoning them. You are simply defining the container of your energy. Perhaps a friend invites you to a party on a Saturday night. The old program says, "You should go.
You don't want to miss out or hurt their feelings. A micro no could be, "That sounds so fun. Thank you for thinking of me. I need a quiet night in this weekend, but I would love to catch up with you next week." You are not rejecting the friendship. You are honoring your own need for solitude. Another powerful form of the micro no is the sacred pause. You do not have to answer immediately. When someone makes a request, you can simply say, "Let me check my schedule and get back to you." Or, "I need a moment to think about that." This pause is a revolution. It breaks the automatic conditioned response of saying yes. It creates a space between the request and your answer. And in that space, you can consciously check in with yourself. You can ask, "Do I have the energy for this? Do I genuinely want to do this? What is my authentic answer?" I invite you this week to become a gentle warrior of the micro no. Your only mission is to find one very small, very low-stakes opportunity to practice. It might feel uncomfortable. The warden of guilt might sound its alarm. That's okay. That's part of the process. Your job is not to silence the guilt. Your job is to act anyway, to say your gentle no, and then to simply be with the discomfort, to breathe through it, to notice that the catastrophic outcome the fortune teller predicted did not happen. The world did not end. You are still here. You are safe. Each time you do this, you are sending a new message to your nervous system. You are updating the old program. You are teaching your body on a cellular level a new truth. My boundaries keep me safe. My truth does not destroy connection. I can honor myself and still be loved. This is the practical, on-the-ground work of reclaiming your life from the tyranny of guilt. This is shadow work in action. It is not a grand, dramatic gesture. It is a quiet revolution made up of 1,000 small, courageous choices. It is the patient, loving process of building a new relationship with yourself. A relationship not based on fear and obligation, but on trust, respect, and a deep, unwavering loyalty to the truth of your own soul. And it begins with one small, sacred no. Today, we have stood before the gatekeeper of our inner prison, the voice of guilt, and we have learned its secret. Its power is not inherent. It is inherited. Its authority is not truth. It is a program. We have learned to recognize its 3 dialects of control: the harsh inner judge, the fearful fortune teller, and the manipulative debt collector. By simply seeing these voices for what they are, echoes of the past, we begin to reclaim our own authority in the present. We have learned the most revolutionary truth about boundaries: that a true no is not a rejection of another, but a sacred acceptance of ourselves. It is a yes to our own peace, our own energy, our own well-being. This is the heart of this work. This is the essence of building a life of integrity as taught by Carl Jung. The practice of the micro-no is your first step on this path of liberation. It is a gentle, compassionate way to teach your nervous system a new truth, that your boundaries will not lead to abandonment, but to a deeper, more authentic connection with yourself and, ultimately, with others. This is shadow work in its most practical form. It is taking the profound insights of the psyche and applying them to the real, everyday moments of your life. It is a quiet revolution, one small, sacred no at a time. But as you begin to build this loving fence around your well-being, as you stop the constant outflow of energy to please others, you will notice something. That stored, suppressed energy has to go somewhere. A new voice will begin to emerge from the shadow. A voice that has been silenced even more deeply than your no. It is a fiery, powerful, and often terrifying energy. It is the voice of your own sacred rage, your anger. Why are so many of us, especially women, so terrified of our own anger? Why do we equate it with destruction and danger? And what is the profound, life-giving power hidden within it that the shadow is trying to help us reclaim? That is the fire we will walk into together tomorrow, on day 4 of our journey. For now, your invitation is to become a student of your own boundaries. Look for just one opportunity this week to practice a micro-no. The pause, the gentle delay, the quiet, honest statement of your capacity. This is not about being perfect. It is about being willing. To anchor this powerful intention, I invite you to make a declaration in the comments below. It is a statement of truth that honors both yourself and others. Simply write, "My no is my yes to me." By sharing these words, you are not only committing to your own practice, but you are joining a collective of courageous souls who are all learning to speak the language of self-love. Your voice matters, your peace is sacred, and your freedom begins now.